Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit.
Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio.
That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Mobile banking from Truist actually works for you. It gives you simple, smart, personalized insights to keep you one step ahead. Because we think that's the kind of control you deserve over your money. When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank. Truist. Download the mobile app now.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loot machine.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company.
All right, hello, good evening, and welcome to another Sunday night live edition of the BCSN SportsWrap. I'm Bryan Fulford. That's A.D. Drew, and it's good to be here with you. Drew, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Doing fine, man. As fine as a man could be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just watching a little bit of this NFC Championship game. Fly, Eagles, fly. Just hoping that we don't get any late game shenanigans with under 3 minutes left. Fingers crossed.
Define shenanigans.
Shenanigans would be a pitchy woo-woo that turns into a touchdown. Somebody deciding not to defend a running back going towards the end zone. You know, that anything like that could result in more than 38 points. And right now the Eagles are up 31-7. And we don't want 45, Drew. That's the magic number. We do not want 45. So for those who know, they know. But we played the under. We played the right sides. Well, at least, you know, for the first 57 minutes, we've been playing the right side, Drew. We don't know what the final 3 minutes have in store for us.
But you know, Brian, for you saying that you don't want that under, there's somebody who's out there who wants it over.
Yes, there's always somebody who's always played the other side. You know, that's just the nature. That's just the nature of what this game is like. But tough break for the San Francisco 49ers, man. Having to go to the fifth string quarterback after the third and the fourth string quarterback. Well, I was saying they had to go to the fifth because the fourth got knocked out after the third got knocked out.
Right.
Exactly.
McCaffrey
was
came
the
in
fifth
as the
string running back.
Fifth string, yes.
Yeah.
This is for a playoff game, for the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. This is not how you want that to play out, basically.
And think about the arc of the Eagles right? While we're talking about it, they go from winning the Super Bowl, right, where they literally had a young quarterback in Carson Wentz, who was a MVP caliber, right? Got hurt. They go to the backup, the most improbable backup story, and Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl. And then they almost for the next 3 seasons try to rebuild themselves. They drafted Jalen Hurts in the, what was that, the second round?
Second round, yes. He was a second round pick.
Yeah, drafted him in the second round. And really a lot of people questioned whether he would be a quality NFL quarterback. And those of us who had confidence in him, all you did is look back and say, man, this guy has been a winner. He was a winner. Graduated from Alabama, where he was a winner with the Oklahoma.
No. He did graduate, and he finished his last season at Oklahoma. You are correct.
Yeah, what were you saying no to?
I thought you said he graduated. I forgot. He actually graduate from Alabama. Did finish out his eligibility at Oklahoma. So yeah, you are correct.
Exactly. Yeah. You jumped the gun. Let me be wrong all the way through
sorry.
before you jump the gun.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you host the show. I'm just gonna sit back here and push buttons and hope I don't push the wrong button, like the mute button.
All good. It's all good, man. Yeah, exactly. It's all good. Jalen Hurts, though. Props to Jalen Hurts, man. Going to the Super Bowl, and so are the Eagles. My mother's favorite team, man. Shout out to the Eagles. Philadelphia, fly Eagles, fly. And so coming up a little bit later tonight, for those of us who are watching our show, will be the AFC Championship. So that'll be interesting. So we'll do our thing, and we'll be kind of scoreboard watching on the side. Shout out to everybody who's
Chiefs playing.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, your Chiefs, huh? Is that who you've adopted ever since now that St. Louis doesn't have a team?
I adopted the Chiefs when the St. Louis Cardinals left St. Louis. So I'm not a fly-by-night Chiefs fans as some of the other people have been. I'm not necessarily a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs fan coming in the last couple of years. I go all the way back to when Todd Blackledge was the quarterback for the Chiefs. That's probably a name you haven't heard in a while. Joe Montana with the Chiefs.
Right. Wow, true. That's some time, definitely. Got to give a shout out to the folks who are already in the chat rooms. Let's see, HBCU Band Talk 305, Tamara T. I noticed I saw Chuck Hunt there already on the Facebook chat feed, and many others. We appreciate you jumping in early. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button where you are. Encourage others as you see more people coming in, joining in the discussion. I'm sure we'll have more people jumping in, and we'll get into definitely a lot of HBCU talk here, and we'll keep our eye on these championship Sundays, and we'll go from there. So, hey, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MyBCSN1, the number 1. It is our 25th year of trying to bring Black college sports content to this thing they call the internet, Drew. It's the same that famous folks use. It's the same internet small time broadcasters use. It's the same internet we all use. We all drinking out of the same fountain off these internet streams. You know what I'm saying? But
same freaking Kool-Aid, man. It's the same Kool-Aid, man. You didn't even let me get. You didn't let me get comfortable in the show yet before you hit me up with this one, man.
I figured we were going to lead the show talking a little bit about the latest update because see last week's show, the news that Ed Reed would not be retained, or what do we call it? He wouldn't be up for consideration. That was the news last weekend. So much has happened in the days following that I figured we had to start with that, and
Yes.
so we'll kind of start there. On I think it was Monday morning, maybe Tuesday, maybe it was Monday, that athletic director, Bethune-Cookman University athletic director Reggie Theus did an exclusive interview with Vaughn Wilson of HBCU Game Day. Was it Monday or Tuesday when that dropped?
It was Tuesday because they were on the road Monday, so it was Tuesday.
Right. Came Tuesday morning, dropped.
Tuesday
I thought it
afternoon
was a very good interview.
Tuesday afternoon when it dropped.
Yeah, I thought it was a good interview. It really gave Theus an opportunity to express and clarify. I think it's the first comments that we've heard from Theus regarding what the situation really was from his perspective in terms of a lot of it. We even speculated, why was Ed Reed there? Did Ed Reed sort of jump the gun? A lot of people making a fuss about his office being cleaned. Well, you probably weren't supposed to be there. Just stuff that we kind of speculated on, Drew. That kind of stuff kind of was confirmed in that. Some of the personal attacks that Theus took from Ed Reed, I found that interesting. And how he took that, but really, he gave you a great perspective as someone who's in a position of hiring, in a position of leadership, to sort of say that, look, I've maintained here in this whole thing that Ed Reed became unhinged, and I think a lot of people have looked at things like the Roland Martin interview that he did. And looked at it from certain angles. I certainly look at it from the angle of I think Roland Martin let Ed Reed talk, because the longer you let him talk, the longer, in my opinion, he looked unprofessional, unprepared to be your head coach. And further,
man, that was all about ratings, man.
Well,
it's
fascinating.
Roland let Ed Reed create a soundbite that got ratings. Did you go and watch it? Did you watch the Roland show?
I watched the whole. I did. I went back and I watched
ratings.
every segment.
Ratings.
Well, I mean, look. Okay, what does that mean though? What do you mean ratings? I mean, aren't you? Isn't he there telling a story?
Yes.
What did you want?
No, that's what you want, but I'm trying not to get deep into it, but sometimes as professional journalists, sometimes you may have to cut people off, or at least attempt to cut people off before they put their foot in their mouth. Roland,
why is that Roland Martin's job? Why is that his job?
Just like the person who runs out on the field during the middle of a basketball game or a baseball game, they cut away from that for a reason. They cut away from that stuff for a reason.
To discourage the reason why people do it.
Right. Roland, Ed Reed did not need his 15 minutes of fame. Ed Reed has had his 15 minutes, your 15 minutes, and my 15 minutes of fame. All right. So, but sometimes you have to at least attempt to get people out. Now, you can't stop what come out that man's mouth. But when Ed Reed started cussing, for instance, and I'm just gonna take it at that. Roland Martin was like, Reed, this is a show of a certain level. We need to refrain from that language.
Well, but he's
Did
on the
he-
internet. Ed Reed, I
still,
mean, he's on the internet.
but even
He's
still,
on the internet.
even still, no. But even still, being on the internet, we don't get on here and cuss. We on the same internet. We don't get on here and cuss and talk about all different kinds of stuff like that. We may accidentally drop a bomb, but we don't go on a tirade. So, he could have just reminded him, let's keep it professional. Let's refrain from the language. We do have a diverse audience.
But is
That's
that
just
true
one
to
example.
Ed Reed? That's not who Ed Reed is, Drew. I'm telling you, that's what I believe. Roland let you see Ed Reed, and the good and bad of Ed Reed is the good is you saw the passion, but the bad is you also see that he wasn't media savvy like a Deion Sanders or some other people, like the interim president who came on before him, or I would even say even some of the student athletes from Bethune-Cookman who came on later in that show.
Yeah.
Because
I
Ed Reed was speaking from an emotional standpoint. So
don't mad tweet, don't mad email, don't mad call, don't mad interview.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. But Ed Reed did all of those things. He did all those things. Now, where was Ed Reed's people?
His one boy was right there.
Reed's people?
His one boy was right there and still didn't get a Bryan. Let me tell you this.
Did a horrible job. That guy did a horrible job.
Hey, wait a minute. Matter of fact, we've had some times in our 30 plus years of knowing each other where we have had to pull the other one out of stuff like this before we run our mouth or before we do something stupid. And I'm going to say right here on the BCSN SportsWrap, thank you, my brother, for saving me. Because his boy did not save him. His handler or his media person or whoever he was did not stop him. So I'm gonna thank you for stopping me in the past. Because we've all had that time where we've been ready to fly off at the handle and say something.
But see, that comes from a place of, if let me just say this, if Ed Reed and Roland Martin had the kind of relationship that maybe they were close,
I'm not talking
Roland
about Roland
probably
Martin
would have.
I'm talking about.
Well, no. I'm just using the example.
Okay.
Well, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's hard to, at that point it's already loose. The guy. I get what you're saying. The guy could have said, "Hey, Roland, can we go to a break?" And then probably they could have come back. Yeah, I get what you're saying. He could have stopped that. But then again, how much? I don't know that guy. I don't know what his media training and how savvy he is. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that goes
He sounded
into
intelligent when he got on the thing, even though he spit out some information because he was trying to refute some of the stuff that Ed Reed was saying. When Ed Reed started talking about the Grambling job and Prime offered him the Jackson State job and all that.
My God.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Oh my God. Here's the thing. Someone should have had the conversation with Mr. Reed before he went on that interview, during that first break, and so forth. Ed Reed, if you ever want to work as a coach anywhere, we need to spin this in a certain direction. We messed up.
Yeah.
But we need to control this spin of this right now. That was not it. If you want to continue to be able to raise good money for your foundations, because I guarantee you, unfortunately, the good causes that he is working on with his foundation are going to be impacted by these last 2 weeks. So if you want to do
Right.
good by your foundation, we need to control this. We need to make lemonades out of this lemon that we have right here. We
Right.
can't continue to sour the conversation and be the bitter black man, the pissed off black man, and
Yeah. Well,
other black
we're already
men
past that.
at a black institution. And Brian, here's the thing, and I may have told you this analogy. I don't think anyone here is wrong. I don't think anyone here is right as far as the facts of the situation. Now, how the facts have been handled have been wrong. Brian, you're on the interstate. You're driving 70 miles an hour in a four-cylinder Honda Civic. I'm riding down that same interstate. I'm riding 70 miles an hour in a Cadillac Escalade. You've got an 18-wheeler riding down that interstate at 70 miles an hour. What's the fact, Brian? We're all going 70 miles an hour, correct?
Yes.
Here's the difference. Because of where we
It's an
are
SAT
sitting.
question. This like an SAT
Yeah.
prep question? Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But because of where we are all sitting, our perspectives are different. And that 70 miles an hour feels different because of the vehicle that we are in. And the vehicle that
Great
we are
analogy.
driving. And
Great
I'm
analogy.
gonna throw one more thing on you. If you are that brother standing on the overpass watching these cars go 70 miles an hour, which those are those sideline fans, your perspective is even different than the ones who are feeling the force of driving 70 miles an hour in their respective vehicles. That's what I mean by I think the facts are the facts, and the facts in this situation are true. But perception is reality. Perspective is perpetual. What you see and from your perspective is how you deal with this. Some have done it right. Some have done it in a not, I won't say right or wrong, but some have done it handled it in one manner. Some have handled it in another manner. And I guarantee you, everyone has thought they've handled this in the right manner, including Ed Reed. Ed Reed thought he was right with what he did. And I can't take that away from that man, whether I agree with it, whether I disagree with it. The university president thought he was right in the way he handled it. The athletic director thought he was right in the way that they handled
it. Let's talk about the next day or two and what kind of came out, because an interesting video had come out maybe about Thursday or maybe Friday morning showing not quite the town hall meeting that Roland Martin was trying to push for, but more of a meeting with the football players, the interim president, the athletic director, football alums, other prominent alums, and former coach Alvin Wyatt. And at first that I'm watching this video, Drew, which came out, I took note of where it came from. It came out from BCU Communications. And as I'm listening to it, and then it was narrated. So it was like a 60-minute piece, so to speak. You know, it was a packaged video. And I was like, oh, look at Bethune-Cookman controlling their own content and message, making sure that, oh, we're not going to have we're not going to let someone else come in, i.e. Roland Martin. We're not going to let someone else come in, control the message, control the video. We're not gonna do any Instagram live because we've seen how disastrous that had been. We're going to video record it, and we're going to,
edit it and put it out for content.
publish it, edit it and publish it. Now, there were various parts of that you come across hearing, and we'll talk about it a little more in depth with our good friend Mo Carter in the second hour. But there were parts of it, Drew, that kind of had you scratching your head like, did I just hear that? And there were other. So when you listen to that produced piece, what did you catch that kind of caught you, or maybe whether it made you chuckle, whether it made you shake your head, or whatever emotions you had? What were parts of that produced piece that you came away with kind of bewildered by, or maybe amused by?
First of all, maybe somebody at Bethune-Cookman was listening to our show last week, because we said this was one of the things that they needed to do when you, I, and Dr. Cavill were on the show, that you need to get it here and get your PR team on top of this immediately, which Bethune-Cookman did. It took them a couple of days to get themselves organized. But when you think about it, I think Reggie Theus got back on campus Tuesday. I think this event actually happened Wednesday, and this piece came out Thursday, if I've had my timeline correct, Brian, and you could correct me on that.
Yeah, either Thursday or when. I saw it Friday morning, so if it came out Thursday night,
I think it came out sometime Thursday is when it came out. But it may have been Friday, but you had to get all your players, you had to get everybody on campus. So great job, Bethune, coming together, coming up with a plan, and controlling the spin on this. Now, sidebar, Brian, why can't we do more stuff like that as HBCUs, period? Not just when something bad happens to our HBCU. Why can't we do that with some good stuff that's happening to our HBCUs? That's just a sidebar.
I'm sure there's stuff. There's some stuff out there, Drew. I mean, but you have to go looking for it on the school's websites. You're
buried on a few pages.
Well, look, whether it's buried or whether it's just on a page that we don't frequent or talk about often. I mean, part of it is out there putting the message out. When you do stuff like that, who promotes it? How does it get promoted? So yeah, I don't want to say, but let's not fall into the dangerous trap of what Shannon Sharp did and just assume that things aren't being done or don't look a certain way, because
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but it's good to see that was out there. No, it would be nice to see more things like that come about when positive stuff happens to our university, not just the whole PR team gets together on something negative. That's just from where I say that. That's just that perspective. But here's the thing, Brian, and you and I talked about this. Now, we need y'all to win. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing.
There you go.
We need y'all to win. All them losses wasn't no Coach Sims. Y'all the ones who had two wins last year, or something along those lines. Very candid and direct from the president. We go do what we got to do to help y'all. We working on the practice field. We working on X, Y, and Z. But y'all got to give us some W's. We want y'all to be students first. Then we want y'all to give us some W's. In so many words, that's what he said.
Yeah, that was. I had never heard a president be that honest, and that's probably, who knows if do you really want your president being that honest? I don't know if that was a good look. Certainly, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Brian, he's the interim. He can get away with that. You can get away with that when you're the interim. You can't get away with that when you're the full time.
Look, I told you I like petty. I'm all for the petty and love mess. And so when I heard that, I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit. And, they had former NFL players there talking to guys, which I guess in the circumstances is good and bad. Those guys seem to maybe say without saying that, hey, our conditions weren't great either. But you know what? We persevered through it, and we came out better for it. I don't know if they were saying that exactly because I don't know enough of the circumstances and what kind of conditions. But here's one thing I am wondering, and I don't think I've heard anyone say this about BCU, right? Like the 1 or 2 times I've driven over there, I know there is was a field there with a goalpost. Now, I don't know if that's where the band practices or where the football team practices. And then when everybody's talking stadium, are they talking about municipal stadium where they play their games are? If so,
that's where they practice at. That's where they practice.
Okay, so if so, that stadium is probably a 15 to 20-minute drive on the other side of Daytona, heading west across I-4. No, I-95, excuse me. So it's literally, Daytona, BCC sits closer to the beach and the coast, whereas if you head west, you have to go past the Daytona racetrack to get to the stadium where Municipal Stadium is. So you're saying they practice there. And that led me to another
on
thought,
a daily.
Drew. Yes, so how do they get there? What is the transportation like?
They have to transport them.
Who is they?
The university has to
bear
that expensive.
University?
The university has to bear the expensive transport.
Yeah. So see, I looked at all of this, and then
which is an expense.
So, I'm sure, but it goes to the whole painting of the picture that I don't think enough people asked, and that's because I don't think enough people have been to the campus. You haven't been to the city, so you don't really know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's really challenging. It's really interesting when you peel back the onion, when you peel back the layers on this. There was a lot of people are mad and upset about some of the questions and questioning and things of that nature, but there's a lot more questions which you didn't have to have. There was more that could have come out over the past week and a half, Drew, that I'm surprised has not. And I don't think people have a clear understanding of all the conditions. I really don't. I don't, I mean, we hear some stuff and it sounds like, oh no, there's mold and there's this. And I'm like, but wait a minute, where is all this? What is the transport like? How are they transported there? Not everybody drives. I'm sure you got some underclassmen who don't have vehicles. How does all this work? You know what I'm saying? So when you hear in that produced piece, the AD say that they, and when he says they, you know who he's talking about? The city of Daytona Beach, because that's who owns and maintains and operates that stadium, if I'm not mistaken. So
Correct.
If he's saying they're investing $3 million in improving things in that stadium, that's who he's talking about. And I guess they're working with BC, but there's just a lot of things that I felt like, if we really, and I've seen a lot of videos coming out, people are asking all kinds of pointed questions, but I don't think people are asking the right questions or the questions which give an understanding. Like if you were going to explain to somebody about going to Florida A&M, you can't just tell them, hey, you're going to be living on the beautiful south side of campus, and then there's the set, blah, blah, blah. And then if you're a school of business and industry, that's over on the west side of the campus. You would be doing that person a disservice if you didn't say, oh, yeah, let me tell you about these monstrous hills that your ass is going to have to walk up.
I'll be doing you a disservice if I told you you will wear through 3 to 4 pair of shoes per year because of the heat,
right,
and the heels,
right. Yes. So you can't. That's what I feel like is going on. I feel like we're hearing all these stuff, but we're not hearing about the journey from A to B and B to C.
Yeah. Just sidebar, Brian. I most of us in Tallahassee didn't have to worry about getting our freshman 15 because we walked off that freshman 15 on that campus that freshman year. You didn't have an opportunity to get your freshman 15 till you was about a junior.
Yeah, my 15 became a junior 15 once I got a vehicle, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm able to drive to every happy hour and eat 50-cent chicken wings like there's no tomorrow. That's when my 30 picked up. Damn, 15 is more like a junior 30.
Yeah, we could get a freshman 15 because them heels.
Yeah, them a freshman 15, boy. You stay fit in Tallahassee. So, Drew, needless to say, that wasn't all the news, because you had some. There was a little bit of discussion that went on. Can we get into that part? It's kind of 30 minutes into the show. Are you ready? Is the question now?
I'm ready.
Now, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know any of this was going on because just kind of as the way my week goes and the way things go, I wasn't aware all this was happening. So, give some background and detail and explain. You got the tweet. Okay, so I'll turn it over and give it to you.
All right. There was a tweet by a prominent African American media person. And some of you all who follow me on Twitter or have seen that's been retweeted multiple times. You can see how many people have viewed the tweet. It's been retweeted and liked many a times. Responded to our good friends over at HBCU Nightly. HBCU Nightly invited this person. Hey, come on over here, holler at us. We have candid conversations. Any of you all who have been on the HBCU Nightly platform on Twitter Spaces know what they do, and they do a damn good job at what they do. They welcome in all people, whether you're HBCU alum or not. If you're positive, if you've got something good to spend about HBCUs, we have good, candid, open, and honest conversations on that. And I'm just glad they give me a few moments to speak in their platform when I do have the opportunity to log in. And have you haven't been on HBCU Nightly Twitter Spaces, Brian?
I have listened to the Twitter Spaces before. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So and you have some very, very passionate HBCU people in that space. So just reached out. Hey, come over here, holler at us. And this person tweeted, why would I come over and have a conversation on HBCU Nightly when I have my own channel with over 60,000 followers? Why would I come over there to talk to 200 to 500 people at a time? That kind of set wrong with me, man. That really, lack of a better word, pissed me off. I'll just say it. I'm not gonna go full Ed Reed on you, but I'll give you that much. Your comments before I get any further into this. Any comments so far?
I don't know why you hiding people's names. Hell,
Because I refuse to say his name. I refuse to say his name.
Oh, we're doing so. We're doing that. We're not saying his name.
I don't want to give that man any more publicity than he already think he got.
Okay, he who shall not be named. Okay, we'll go Harry Potter on his ass. He who shall not be named. All right, go ahead.
Now he's been mentioned in this show as part of a news segment, but he will not be mentioned as part of this segment.
He all right, who shall not be named. Okay,
so
Voldemort. Anyway, go ahead.
That's what led me to post this tweet right here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us have been doing this hashtag HBCU stuff all of our lives. Some of them use hashtags HBCUs as opportunists. Those who do not cover hashtag HBCUs all the time those who do cover HBCUs all the time tend to get the story correct. Others come and go and do it only for ratings. The true hashtag HBCU community has your back. And I shouted out HBCU Nightly, hashtag One Love, because he actually added HBCU Nightly in his tweet. Now, here's my problem. You talking about a cousin, a friend of the family. Right here, my brother. You know, we could talk about each other in this HBCU family, but you can't come from the outside to do that. Now whether we get on, whether we don't get on. There are a lot of us in this HBCU space who are doing a good job. First of all, shout out to Mr. Eric Moore, RIP, probably the grandfather of people covering HBCUs on this space we call the internet. Rest in peace, Mr. Moore. Then you've got those entities that have been around since before the new millennium came around. Got the Black College Sports page. You've got Oniden. You've got HBCU Sports by way of the SWAC page where it originally started at. You've got the Black College Sports Network. All who were around before the year 2000. Some of us have been doing this stuff all of our lives. Then you've got the newer stuff. You've got your HBCU game days out there. You've got many other. You've got an organization that you and I are a part of, HBCU Pro Sports Media Association, that we are a part of. You've got this new thing that's come along in the last few years called Twitter Spaces, where people come and do their thing in more of an informal format. Twitter Spaces is the old SWAC message boards with voices. That's what all it is, Brian.
It's almost like internet radio. Yeah, it's almost like internet radio message.
It's all without somebody pushing the button, without all the call-ins. Yes, that is exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. You've got people like the Pregame Show, who, by the way, has about as many followers as you talking about over there, Mr. Brother, with your own TV platform. I'm just saying. You and I have been a part of the Pregame Show. We were there from the infancy with that. When those guys came up with that idea. We produced some of that stuff. Some of that content that they do. Dr. Cavill. Excuse me, sir. Have you Googled Dr. Kenyatta Cavill? We're not talking about inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We are talking about Dr. Cavill. The man, before I met him, every time I did some research about HBCU and athletics, every other time this man's name came up.
He knows him. He knows who he is.
And there's many others who are out here doing, and I know I'm leaving a whole lot of people out. You got Tyler Carr, you got Vaughn Wilson, you got Steve Gaither, you got our guys Charles Bishop, Carlos Brown. Been doing this forever. I could go on and on. Mike Washington, Charles Edmond, people who have been doing this stuff forever. And you gonna diss somebody who lives in this space? Yeah, I got a problem with you dissing somebody who lives in this space. Ken Rashad, you know, all of them. I got a problem with you dissing one of those people, Trevor Jones. And I'm really not trying to go off any further. Here's what I'm gonna say, Brian. You know the one thing that all of us have in common, all those people who I just named, including him. How do you find us, Brian? On the same freaking internet. The same freaking internet that he is on, we are on. You don't have a TV deal anymore. You're not on national TV anymore. You're not on cable. Hey, hell, we got an app just like you got an app, my brother. MyJBN/MyBCSN. Go and download it. You don't have that we don't have. But you too damn big to come talk to us little poor men down here. Yeah, it pissed me off. It pissed me off.
Yeah.
This is what I'm gonna say. Bruh, you can't come into our hood, our space. If the HBCU is our hood, you can't come into our hood talking that noise. And you damn sure don't come on the BCSN block talking noise. Because HBCU Nightly and all those guys over there, Super Dave and all those guys, are like our cousins to BCSN. So watch your mouth, my brother. Watch your mouth. These Twitter spaces ain't nice. These Twitter spaces ain't nice. And when HBCU people gang up on somebody else, you don't want to be on the other end of it. And I'm just a little man with a platform, just like you. Same YouTube, same Twitter, same IG, same Facebook that you use to reach your audience. But you better than us. I'm just gonna say blank, please. Y'all know the word that goes in there.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. Yeah, I'll just wrap by saying, Drew, it's interesting that we can go as far back as SWAC Media Day. And, you know, I don't recall, you know, whether you or me, I don't recall either of us. I know I didn't.
I took a picture with this brother.
Go over.
I spoke to him and
did I really?
I took a picture with this brother. It was not a pleasant experience, but I'd have walked up here. Come on, I'll go ahead. Let me go ahead and take this picture. I didn't already asked
I'm
you.
curious. Did you go over to his?
Yes.
Did you go over to his area, or did he come over to where we were?
Of course, he wasn't coming over to where we was, man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where I was going.
After he called himself being smart and took the spot that we was at last year. And we wound up in a better spot.
He noticed where we were last year. He noticed where
Imitation is the best form of flattery. These are spaces.
Yeah.
You trying to figure out how to get in this space.
Well, you know. Anyway, I just I'm amazed that there's a certain power play that comes with that, which, you know, it's like, you know, put it like this: the humility of, and this is what I like about people. Like, I had the pleasure of meeting the legend Charlie Neal, the real GOAT in HBCU broadcasting, right? Very humble, very open to talking with us. You know, yes, he has his platform. He's working with HBCUGo.tv, but he even took time to come talk to us because I think he understands that, we grew up watching him. We're doing all of this because we saw Charlie Neal do it first and with the excellence that he did it at, right? So, but he never made, I mean, even he's come by. If you've ever done or been at a game where Charlie Neal broadcasts, Charlie Neal will come by your tailgate if it's near the entrance. He did that at FAMU, came by the tailgate and hung out and talked to us. A man of the people. I don't think that other guy, he who shall not be named, would have done that. You know, might have got some barbecue sauce on his daishiki or something. I don't know, but he wouldn't have came and broke bread with us, probably because he'd be in a hurry, have to get on to the next airplane and do the next thing. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but just off of things I've heard, things I've seen, that kind of that kind of ego has its limits. And I enjoy the content, sometimes the content of what he's trying to do, but eventually you'll end up rubbing and running people the wrong way. That's all I'll say. Let's go to a break, because I know coming up at the top of the second hour, we got Mo Carter joining us, and we got to talk. As disastrous as things are at Bethune-Cookman, I got to talk about what's happening over at Albany State and this whole story surrounding Marcus Stokes, a young man who made a horrible mistake, but somehow one particular HBCU is too good to offer him an opportunity to redeem himself or play at their school. We'll talk about that on the other side. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap with Bryan and A.D. We'll be back in just a moment.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com. All right, welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and A.D here. Coming up here shortly in the top of hour number 2, Mo Carter, WZDX in Huntsville, Alabama, sports director. Also, if you happen to be watching and listening to the Tuskegee Miles Showdown in Fairfield, Alabama, on the campus of Miles College, you heard Mo Carter doing play-by-play, and Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab co-host Charles Bishop doing the color commentating. Those two guys did an outstanding job. Drew's Tuskegee Golden Tigers won both games. Golden Bears came up short, but it was a great atmosphere. And that was part of our Super Saturday coverage where we had 5 schools playing. I believe we had a total of 8 games. Was it 8 or 7? Was it 7 or 8? 3 doubleheaders.
8. You had 3 doubleheaders and 2 singles.
8, yeah. Yeah. So 8 games. That's men and women's basketball on Saturday afternoon. That was streaming on the Black College Sports Network and HBCU League Pass Plus. So hopefully you got a chance to watch that. We appreciate all the eyes that had a chance and really enjoyed. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Super Saturday Player, which gave you an opportunity to kind of flip between games, in game. So really cool features, continuing to advance the opportunities that you have to watch HBCU basketball.
You mean we have technology to do that, Bryan? I'm sorry.
We do.
Let me get off that subject.
We're on the same internet, Drew. We're on the same internet. So
okay.
Yeah. So you can continue to help us grow. You can go to MyJBN.com or hold on. Let me make sure I get it right here because I'm gonna mess it up, Drew. I know you can. I'll get it right. I know you can donate to the show via Cash App, $ MyJBN, MyBCSN. You can also, if you're on YouTube, you can leave a super chat donation. You can do that as well. You can go to mybcsn.net/grow, and you can continue to help us grow and advance the network and what we're doing. And so we appreciate all of those donations and support and the effort to help continue us going. Before we get to Mo Carter coming up, National Signing Day is coming up on Wednesday, Drew.
Did you know? February 1 starts the National Signing Day? Are you ready? Were you ready? Did you know?
I am ready.
Yeah, it's one of those things that kind of I think is not as hyped because the early signing period is a thing, and that this year was the week before Christmas or heading into Christmas week, I think. And so, the big fuss that used to be, I mean, we grew up where February 1, the first Wednesday of February, was a really super big deal. And then, of course, they added in this extra early signing period for football. And so I think some of the, what I want to say, some of the luster and some of the excitement of the National Signing Day in the spring is a bit reduced. But as it relates to HBCUs, I saw on Twitter a site called Kelly Flicks release a rankings, more of a top 10 rankings of the national recruiting scene. And so, if you're not familiar with the Twitter handle Kelly, Kelly Flicks, that's the Twitter page that releases or has released HBCU rankings, and they do give a definition or sort of tell you who some of the top names are, how many 5-star, 4-star, 3-star players these schools have. But according to their rankings, number 1 is Jackson State, who appear to have 2 4-star recruits and several 3-star guys. Number 2, Florida A&M, with several 3-star guys. If I look at my numbers here, I mean, I'm getting old, Drew. I'm having to actually lean in and zoom in here on my notes. So that's why, if I'm looking this way, it's kind of like, how many? What is that number? But anyway, number 3 is Grambling. Grambling listed with 7 3-star guys, 1 behind Florida A&M. And they actually have Alcorn State at number 4, moving up their ranks. Alcorn has a 4-star and a couple of 3-stars. Now, number 5 is Morgan State. Now, I just saw, did you just see somebody post in the, didn't Morgan State just lose Ty Wheatley, correct? Well, of course they lost Ty Wheatley. They have former Bowie State head coach over
Wilson.
there at Morgan State. Damon Wilson. Now Damon Wilson is at Morgan, and they are ranked number 5 according to this site. You can go take a look at their top 10, but I thought I'd just kind of look at their top 10 and then kind of go through 247 Sports. Many of people are familiar with 247 Sports. Their top 200 rankings among all Division I schools. Of course, those schools in the FCS are still Division I, so many of them are on this list. Jackson State is ranked 127 on the 247 board, followed by Florida A&M at 144. Interesting, Texas Southern comes in at 149 according to 247. And then you see Alcorn State at 171. So those are the only 4 HBCUs in the top 200. I thought I'd also make a note here that North Dakota State was ranked 160th, and South Dakota State, the defending champions in FCS, is 171. And of course, South Dakota State and North Dakota State played in the championship game, correct, of the FCS just this past, a couple weeks ago, matter of fact, probably. And so you see right there, Jackson State, FAMU, Texas Southern, all with higher ratings than North Dakota State and South Dakota State, and Alcorn State is sitting right there, neck and neck with South Dakota State. So it'll be interesting to watch as the final numbers come out after Wednesday. So,
and I guess
any
here, Brian.
comments you want to add there?
Well,
Okay,
let's
any
go ahead and
comments
bring
you
in, I
want to add
guess.
there on recruiting?
Let's bring in, I guess, we'll just make it have a three-way conversation since he's here in the waiting room with us.
All right. So joining us now, good friend of the program, Mo Carter. As you said, meaning at WZDX in Huntsville, Alabama, sports director. Mo, good to see you again. Good to hear you again. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Brian. Good to talk with you as well. Good to see you as well, AD, since I just saw you less than 24 hours ago.
Yes. Did a great job on that game yesterday. Calling a great rival game there. Great atmosphere that we had in Knox Windham Gymnasium on the campus of Miles College, and that's Brian. That's what you call a fire marshal game. If they let one more body in there, the fire marshal's probably gonna be in there and say, "Shut the whole doggone thing down."
Facts.
Yeah, Mo and I were talking offline after the game, and we were trying to figure out like what was the capacity number you shared with me, Mo, on what that
Knox Windham is like 2,200 for max.
2,200 where?
Yeah,
that's if they put seats on the floor.
That's what they have listed on their website.
That's if you use the floor space. You could probably get 2,200 in there. You can't get 2,200 in the bleachers.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. Oh wow, yeah.
Yes.
Well, now that's crazy. Who would do that? I mean,
you got assemblies, you got graduation and stuff like that.
Drew, are you saying it's closer to 1,500?
I wouldn't give it that much, Brian. I'm just being real with it. That you might be talking 1,000 people. You only talking. Let's see. There are no end zone bleachers behind the goal, as I call them, the end zone bleachers. And you're talking on the side behind the benches. You are talking maybe 8 rows of bleachers. On the opposite side,
8 and 10.
12 to 15 rows tops.
Oh wow!
With hallways, with hallways intersecting the bleachers, so it's not like you even have a full bleachers the length of the length of the basketball court. And Bo pointed this out during the usually the Bo or Charles pointed this out during the broadcast. You know, there's a short porch between that end line and that wall.
Very, very short.
You may be talking 4 feet between the end line and the wall. If put it like this,
I don't even know
if there's a photographer.
I think it's more like. I think it's like 2, maybe.
If there's a photographer there taking a picture, you can't take pictures under the goal, because if somebody shoots a layup and there's a photographer there, they have nowhere to land. I mean, it's a great atmosphere. I'm not knocking Knox Windham Gymnasium. Don't get me wrong, everybody. I'm not knocking it because it's our rival. But it's a bandbox gym. It's an old school. If that gym was in North Carolina, it would be an old school CIAA gym.
Which they do have still playing in some of those CIAA
That's why I said that.
Style gyms.
That's why I said that. It's an old school CIAA style gym.
Well, regardless of all that, it was packed to the brim. I'll tell you that. And then, as I mentioned on the broadcast, someone told me how there was still a line of people outside hoping that, somebody was going to leave and then they could go ahead and, get in admissions-wise. But even though those folks may have not been able to get in or whatever, I was also told that a lot of them had phones out and they were actually watching the broadcast on BCSN. So kudos to them for, still getting a chance to check us out on the broadcast of a pretty great game. Well, really a great pair of games, because the women's game was just as good as the men's game.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, fellas, official attendance was listed as 1,000.
Oh wow. Okay. So that makes sense. That makes sense. Mo, that game we talked about. Well, I don't want to go too deep in the woods on that game. I know we talked about possible other sites and where other locations that game could have been played at, but I'll be curious to see in the future how Miles adjust to that game in the future. Maybe as resources become more available to Miles, that maybe renovations to the gymnasium
It would have to. It
potentially
would have to
could
be a
be.
teardown. It would have to
Yeah,
be a
it would
teardown.
definitely
There's
have
no
to be
way.
in Bill Harris, just like AD said when he was, doing the Tuskegee stuff. And there were several years where that game was set for Bill Harris. From my knowledge, apparently the timing of a potential decision just was a little too late, in which they weren't able to make it happen or whatever over at Bill Harris. But figure like this: if both of these teams are really in the running and in the top ranks of the SIAC come next year at this time, would not be surprised if they, try to at least scope the spot and be like, all right, let's have you guys on hold or whatever, and then let's make a decision going into, whatever is coming up. I didn't get a chance to look and see what the city of Birmingham's schedule was for this week, so I'm not exactly sure what events were going on at Bill Harris Arena and the Crossplex or whatever, but apparently it was just a scheduling conflict that prevented that game from being moved over to what we used to be called Fair Park Arena, now known as Bill Harris.
And one last thing on that. This is the first time probably in over a decade that both basketball teams have been competitive at the same time. For the last 10 to 15 years, it's been either or. Rarely has it been both. And the intriguing thing on this one is not only were both men games and both men's teams competitive, but also both women's teams are competitive and at the top of the conference. And as long as I've been a part of that rivalry, I cannot recall a time where all four teams who stepped on the court were essentially playing for the winner was going to either take over first place or solidify themselves in first place, where it was that competitive, where all four teams were in the top three of the Western Division. As long as I've been around that rivalry, that was a oddity.
Mo, we got a lot of things that we wanted to kind of get to you. We got your time while we got you here. First thing up is we were kind of recapping earlier the whole latest episode of I feel like this is part 3 or week 3 of Ed Reed and Bethune-Cookman. I mean, we've gone from the initial let's see, this is in stages here. So we got we got Ed Reed on campus. Then we have the cleanup. Then we have the we got the part 2 was Edrin James visits campus, and the rant was part 1, wasn't it? When we called the rant was part 1, and then the follow-up rant was part 2 of 1. Then we move on to the second stanza, which is Edrin James visits, and then we have the 4th stanza, which is they don't want me anymore on recruiting weekend. Then we have the 5th stanza, which is Roland comes to town, and everyone does interviews. Everybody does interviews, and so I would like to, I think from someone who is in the business of covering sports, I'd like to hear your thoughts on, I guess, what you've seen the media coverage and the play out, not just from Roland, but, obviously from Roland came the HBCU game day interview with the president, with the AD. Yeah. And then to the prepared package that BCU Communications put out late in the week. Yes. So I just want to kind of hear your thoughts and perspectives on that as someone in the business who tries, to cover all sides, give everybody their opportunity and their cover it from a journalistic side. What was your takes on everything?
Well, Brian, I'm not going to take a deep dive into this primarily because even though, yes, I'm in the sports journalism business and I'm at a television station, clearly I still don't know all the facts. I'm going off of what I've been reading, what I've been seeing, what I've been doing when it comes to research and whatnot. But clearly I'm not down in the Daytona Beach area, which is a part of the Orlando television market, if I'm not mistaken. And I've seen some of the things they've done, which clearly hate to say it like this, even with all that happening, even some of the Orlando television stations who have been covering it, they're still a little bit behind the 8 ball because they're kind of going off of the impact of what they've already heard and seen, and then they're kind of trying to play catch up in this scenario. Clearly, yeah, it has been, a nice storyline, drama-filled / soap opera-ish, little Days of Our Lives type stuff there, rest in peace to Stephanol, if y'all know who I'm talking about with that one. But yeah, it's been a lot. It really, really has been a lot. And, even the Bethune-Cookman's piece that they put out the other day with the meeting between former players, current players, and the administration, yeah, that was nice, well and dandy. But I also feel like it was a little too late for that as well, just in my opinion, when I kind of just look at the whole scope of everything. So now I almost feel like if you're Bethune-Cookman, it's kind of like you have no choice but to move forward and trying to make some positive strides if you're the administration, if you're the football players, all right, hey, you've heard our whatevers and stuff. Let's not be satisfied, but let's kind of, keep things going. Let's have some type of updates to kind of see what's going on with maybe student advisory committee, or also let's kind of stay in contact to let everybody know that, okay, this is cool. You guys are making these strides, but at the same time, we need to see a little bit more. What I will tell you this, Bryan and AD, we need to really, really pay attention to the month of May. That's when the next transfer portal time opens. So keep in mind of that, and let's actually kind of see how many guys will hop into the portal at that point in time. Clearly, when the portal was basically closing up or whatever, you had a lot of guys who didn't know who their coach was going to be following Coach Sims, going out as the BC coach or whatever. And Ed Reed technically had not been hired just yet. So you kind of leave a few guys like, should I stay? Should I go or whatever? So now they have to kind of stay through spring and see, okay, we want to stick with this or do we not? So we need to really keep an eye out on that when the portal opens once again. And if you see a lot of guys hop in there, that means that apparently they're just not satisfied with what's going on down in Daytona Beach. But if you don't see a lot of guys, maybe a lot of those players are like, all right, we're going to buy into whatever they're trying to feed us and help us out with to move forward, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Can I ask you a follow-up on that, Mo? We know Wednesday is National Signing Day. What do you think the impact of National Signing Day, and what kind of signs will we be able to get out of Signing Day as far as possibly seeing, do we see big numbers? I doubt if we see big numbers without a coach having been named before Signing Day. So, and especially you as a former football player, what do you think National Signing Day will be like for Bethune? And what can we as fans of the Wildcats read out of not only National Signing Day, but the couple of days after National Signing Day?
Quite frankly, I don't really know what to expect come Wednesday, because the first thing I'm thinking about is that they never ever really named an interim coach. So I have no idea who's even running the football team right now, or at least has an upper hand for being what you would say would be considered a chaperone for the football team at the moment. So with that being said, even if you have guys who would have been committed to BCU or whatever during whatever time and whatnot, like, who do they even send that paperwork to on Wednesday? Like, can they truly say, okay, this is going to be the person I'm signing with or whatever? Because the other thing you have to think about is this, and we've now seen it more and more. When you have changing of coaching staffs or whatever, it's no guarantee that the current players on the team will be held over to the next side if they don't see that they are a true fit or a true need for what the actual coaching staff is going to implement or also is going to have in place moving forward. So quite frankly, AD, I have no idea what to expect on Wednesday. And we may be in a situation where, Bethune's not only going to have to play catch up, but they're going to literally have to, find some diamonds in the rough beyond signing day, which is on this upcoming Wednesday.
What question hasn't been asked? Like, of everything you've heard, asked, and said, what hasn't been asked? I mean, I had some thoughts earlier about questions that I still have. What as you hear the whole story, what haven't you heard that you would like to hear someone ask of somebody who could answer, i.e. Reggie Theus or the interim president or maybe even a board of trustees member?
Well, just what I just said. Who the heck is running the football team right now? I really want to know who is running the football team. Seriously. And you know what? Edwin Moore, he makes a good point. Are there any football coaches even around? Like, that is something I really want to know.
Said they left a couple of people there to run the ship, but like you said, Bo, who is that person? I mean,
yeah, they never ever announced who those people were.
Is it a linebacker coach? Is it a grad student who was there who's trying to become an assistant coach somewhere? I mean, that's different kinds of levels of coaches.
Correct. Because I know right now, quote unquote, it is the off season. So, most of the work that's being done by the players is through the strength and conditioning coach, which, we all know, strength and conditioning during the off season is key and it's also vital. But still in all, like, because of the NCAA changing rules, especially since I played, 15 years ago now. Wow, I can't believe it's been that long. You still have a chance to now meet with your position coaches, kind of go over some little chalk talk things or whatever, not at long lengths, but at least you're able to kind of go over some things, especially with spring coming up. So that's why I really, really wonder what in the world do you have in place. Now, another question, Bethune-Cookman's interim president, along with Reggie Theus, did say that they will have a coach on deck very, very soon. How close is very, very soon? That's what I really want.
How soon?
No, seriously. I mean, I'll take it even back a little bit further. Remember in the early 2010s when Alcorn got rid of their coach before they hired Hobson? Hobson didn't come on board until like the late spring, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, we hope it's not something like that. I mean, especially with National Signing Day coming up. And you also have to have spring football as well. So there's a whole lot of things I really do wonder whatever about that. And clearly there are other ins and outs because they are a private university. We can't really request certain things. Even from a journalism standpoint, I cannot request certain things because they are a private institution in that scenario. So clearly, there's still some questions about the vision and the future of Bethune-Cookman that I think not just people like myself in the business are wondering, but football fans and HBCU fans are wondering as well.
Let's transition over to the curious case or the story about Marcus Stokes. But maybe this is more so a story about an apology that new head coach Quinn Gray of Albany State had to issue. And I say had to issue because by all reports, upon offering young Mr. Stokes a scholarship back on the 24th of this past week, which was Tuesday, I believe, or Monday. Let me see. Today's Sunday. Yeah, it would have been Tuesday. he tweeted out that he got an opportunity to play, had a scholarship offer from Albany State. Now, I believe Quinn Gray had just done his introductory press conference.
Press conference was Monday.
I don't even know if it's,
Press conference was Monday.
Monday the 23rd?
A week from tomorrow was the press conference.
Okay, so the next day, that's when apparently the offer went. Stokes tweeted out, picture of the logo, Rams logo. We'll talk about this also because he also, another HBCU, within a day, was it a day after or the same day, also offered him a scholarship, apparently, that being Alabama A&M. So we'll talk to Mo about that in a second. But so Stokes, who, for those of you who don't know, a young man, 5-star recruit out of the Jacksonville area, recorded himself, got caught doing dumb stuff, what teenagers do, recorded himself reciting, or I don't even know what song it was, but made the mistake with the lyrics that are in music these days. We all know the N-word was in it. He didn't censor himself on video and made the mistake of it going out. Yeah, didn't censor himself. So he ended up having an initial offer from the University of Florida. That got pulled. He got canceled. Obviously, cancel culture got in and, canceled him. And whatever scholarship opportunities he had at even other schools, nobody wanted to touch him. This was back in November, I think, or maybe early December when this whole thing came out. So time has passed, right? Quinn Gray gets the job. Quinn Gray got to find a quarterback, right? Got to find a quarterback. Got to find somebody. So Quinn Gray is a quarterback, a legend at Florida A&M. Taught quarterbacks at Alcorn State and a few other places. A head coach at Tallahassee Lincoln. So I mean, the man knows what he's doing with quarterbacks, right? Offers the young man an opportunity. Apparently, that didn't sit too well with Albany State president Marion Ross Frederick, who, by all accounts, was not happy that Quinn Gray had offered him a scholarship. And so I'm just going to, for those of you who did not hear, I hate to even read this whole thing because reading it is humbling, to say the least. But if you have not read the Quinn Gray apology, on your first week of the job, to be smacked in the hand or on the rear, the way that Quinn Gray was smacked on the rear by President Frederick is humbling. And to me, I would tell Quinn Gray, if I was a confidant of his, I'd say, Quinn, keep your head on a swivel, and be ready to take the next offer that comes to get the hell out of Albany State if Dr. Frederick is still the president. Because if that is the level of trust, and if that is what's happening so early in your career, it's going to be tough going forward. Mo, I thought HBCUs were the place of redemption. I thought that's where a young man could go to find himself. What do you make, before we even get into Alabama A&M offering him, what do you make of this whole story of Quinn? And then Drew, I want you to get in there too after we hear from Mo.
So clearly you kind of just broke it all down or whatever and whatnot. Guy got, I hate to say it like this, caught up in the moment. Rap song comes on or whatever and whatnot, and he says, the N-word. Clearly, we already know how derogatory that is just in general, but to also hear it from someone that's not of the regular race, well, that becomes another situation just in general. And, cancel culture, the way things are now, you just kind of have to just, I hate to say it, sometimes really go by it or whatever and whatnot. So, you fast forward and then you get everything with Albany State. And, yeah, I mean, like you said, Coach Gray definitely, looking for a quarterback or whatever. Like, this guy was one of the best coming out of his class in the situation. Sure, there's a little baggage, well, I say little or whatever, depends on who you look at. It might be a lot of baggage, but there's a little baggage or whatever with it. And I'm not saying that he needed to really go and like get permission to like offer this kid or whatever and whatnot. But I guess it's just one of those things where it's kind of like, okay, you know, there's going to be a risk with certain things, especially from an administration standpoint, possibly because it's such a big notion. I like how you pointed about the redemption story thing or whatever. And I'm not telling Coach Gray he needs to go or whatever and do this and whatnot, but maybe this might have been a situation where, all right, hey, you know, you go maybe talk to athletic director or someone else, be like, look, we understand the situation and whatnot, and we talked to the kid. Hey, he's remorseful. He's very, very sorry. And like, if you kind of had that story to go with, I think the situation would have been a tad bit different, in all honesty. But clearly, it wasn't, and that's not what the administration down at a university wanted in that scenario or whatever. Like I said, personally, I don't know the young man who is going through all this that's at the quarterback position. Personally, I've only seen everything that everybody's been talking about, quite frankly. So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you just really don't know in that scenario, and it continues to be a messy situation. But if someone could turn around and be like, okay, redemption story, it could be a good thing moving forward if you line your ducks up in the row correctly.
What's your take on this, Drew? As someone who covers the SIAC, D2football.com, you're very familiar with the Albany State culture, maybe more so than me and Mo. What's your take on how this played out?
I would go back to more of a athletic culture. I wonder if there was somebody who was playing at Albany State who went to Coach Gray and said, that's my boy. I went to high school with him, or we played those 7-on-7 leagues together or something like that. And it's not what it looks like. I wonder if that's how he got that into that, or whether he and Gray possibly had crossing somewhere in a 7-on-7 camp or quarterback camp, or it's not like Quinn Gray is coming out the woods to coach. He's been around and he's been doing a lot of different things when it comes to high school and collegiate coaching. So I'm just curious as to how that relationship just even came about. Let's start off with that, because that does not seem like you just go pull out the portal or pull out the air and just go sign that kid. Nothing against the kid, but given everything that's surrounding that kid, because I'm pretty sure Coach Gray did his homework and do. Where anytime you offer somebody, we hope that you do your homework. We're not just talking about this kid, but any kid, because we all know all it takes is signing the wrong kid in any sport, and that's your job. You're already putting your job in the hands of 18 to 22-year-olds who gonna do something stupid when they get on campus anyway. That's just what kids do. That's just what college students do. They go do something stupid. So you really have to make sure you do your due diligence. Now, anytime a college president gets involved in athletics at the micro level, that's never a good thing. And this is a college president getting involved in athletics at the micro level. It is never a good thing for that coach. It's even less of a good thing when you haven't even been there long enough to get your first paycheck.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. That's true. That's true.
This, and no disrespect to Coach Duckworth, I know Coach Duckworth is the athletic director. This kind of puts him out there like, this is who you hired. This is who your committee came up with. This is what the athletic director and the search committee came up with, and this is the first decision that he makes. It's going to make everyone take a pause. Everyone stopped and took a pause. Now, full disclosure, The athletic director at Albany State is Caucasian. And that has nothing to do with it, but just so everybody knows, and Coach Duckworth is a great guy. I love Coach Duckworth. Known Coach Duckworth for. Did you know him when he was over at Huntington? There, Mo, when he was coaching basketball in Huntington.
Yes, I remember when he was at Huntington.
Okay, so he's a very good guy. Doesn't see black, white, anything else. All he sees is athletes and academics. That's all he's ever. That's all he's ever saw.
I was just about to say that too.
Yeah, Christian guy, but we are in South Georgia. I stay 45 minutes from Albany State's campus. I'm gonna say that again. We are in South Georgia. The money that possibly goes into Albany State from the boosters and everybody else are probably a little more conservative. So somewhere there was somebody who writes a check with a comma, maybe 2 commas in the check, who has the president's personal cell phone probably, said, oh hell no, we can't do this one. We can do a lot of things, but we can't do this one if you're gonna get my check with a comma and my season ticket package and everything else that I do for this institution. And that's probably what it came down to.
It probably was.
Everybody wanted to do this and wanted to give this kid a second chance because that's what we do at HBCUs. But no one is gonna put how they feed their family on the line for a kid that they don't really know. So that's what I have to say about it.
The interesting line that is in the apology, and again, it got tweeted out from Gray, and again, this is not even a full week on the job. Whereas Quinn says, I mean, just the fact that you have to let me start with a humble apology. It's like you just were on. I mean, I heard a lot of people saying great things about his press conference, right?
I talked to him 2 weeks ago at a basketball game.
Yeah. So you're starting off with, let me start with a humble apology. As I say to our players, quote, there is a consequence to every action. The consequences of my actions brought pain to our university. I was trying to help a student get back in competition, and in my haste, I did not consider the impact the decision would have on all of you. Frankly, it wasn't my place to use ASU as the platform for redemption in this case. I regret that. I use flawed judgment. If given the opportunity, I will do better.
Can I respond to something in the,
as I said? Yeah, no, go ahead.
I want to respond to something in the chat. Edward Moore brought up a point. Said, am I saying conservatives care about who uses the N-word in any context? It's more about it's more about where you grow up. For instance, if you possibly grew up in like LA, which is a melting pot, where you've got black, white, Hispanic, Asian Americans, certain words get used in those communities and get used interchangeable, and nobody cares what color you are. If you grow up in DC or Chicago, there's certain words, a certain language that gets used, and no one cares about it. I grew up in St. Louis, and there was certain words, certain language that was used up there. And when I moved to the South, to Tallahassee, everybody looked at me like, that actually came out your mouth? Do you understand what that was? But down in Tallahassee, that what I said was offensive. But how I grew up in St. Louis, it wasn't anything. And what I mean about conservative down in the South is because of that Southern culture, that the culture in that area. And we can take any city. There are certain things you can say and you can do. I give you an example, and not to do with race, you know, because I grew up in the cold. It wasn't nothing for you to wear your hat inside where I grew up at. Wear a hat inside when you get down in the South back in the day.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? But Brian, where we grew up at, it was cold. And you would walk in and you would leave your hat on because it was cold and you need your head to warm up even more before you took all that stuff off. And it's the same type thing. It's all about culture. And what maybe where he grew up around his people, that may have been cool. But he got to a different area and other people say, especially with everything that goes viral and you can post it now, what may be cool in LA, what may be cool in Chicago, what may be cool in DC, St. Louis, Dallas. Somebody else in another part of the country is gonna get upset and get offended by it, and it's gonna go viral because they're offended by it. That's the difference now between back when we grew up and today, where everybody has one of these, and you have to remember, you have to think about every time you walk outside, take somebody like you, Bo, who's on TV. You have to be careful, even when you just out with your family. Why? Because everybody has one of these. Bo Carter was doing so and so and so and so. Next thing you know, you're not at Fox 54 anymore, and all you were doing was going about your daily life. But somebody catch you doing that one thing that they don't agree with, they post it, they send it to your fam, to your boss, or whatever, and your whole life is ruined. That's the problem. That's the problem. I'm sorry, I'm on it today, man.
Nah, man, you bring up an absolutely great point. He makes a great point or whatever. And I'm glad you kind of mentioned the thing about you growing up in St. Louis and then how things were there. But then when you come over further in the South, because, you both went, you got your ties to both Tuskegee and
St. Louis is just to the up South.
Yeah, exactly. But clearly it's not as far south as, the schools you attended or currently where you actually live at. So no, I totally get what you're saying or whatever with that. And what's also interesting, I'll add to your narrative about how you say whatever with California. And I mean, of course, yeah, I've got, a few relatives out there and whatnot. I've run through that same situation. And look, you can even go a step further. So, clearly, I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with, like, if you go to an Oriental store or an Asian store or something like that. And for a long time, I was hearing people say, oh, the Ching store, the Ching whatever and stuff. Well, it did not take me until I worked with a young lady who was full-blown Japanese several years ago. And I asked them, like, hey, when you or your people or your relatives would have heard that or whatever, like, what exactly are y'all feeling? She was like, notice how other people use it, but you don't hear us use it or whatever because it is derogatory. She was like, and she literally told me it's not as bad as saying the N-word or whatever. She literally said it just like that. But she also said it is a derogatory statement. That's why you don't hear many people in the Asian culture roughly say that, but you hear it elsewhere or whatever with that. So like now when I hear anyone say, I'm like, hey, don't say it. Just say Asian store or Oriental store or whatever, because clearly you don't really know what you're saying. And they're so humble, they're not going to tell you. They're just not. But I've had conversations, so now I like truly know in that sense. So yeah, you wrap it all around, it's all the same stuff.
But as an 18-year-old coming out of Southern Louisiana, you didn't know any better because
absolutely
you hadn't been around. And what we call Chinese food, I'm not even gonna say on the air when you say you're going to get some Chinese food. Where you going? But until I got grown, I didn't realize that it wasn't cool to call it that place.
No, I totally get what you're saying. It was not that cool.
Let me ask about the culture thing here, because Mo, as Drew did a great job of breaking down the culture of South Georgia. Well, the scholarship offer that he also received was from Alabama A&M. And we got to believe that, hey, as much as we believe Quinn Gray is an as a former quarterback who knows what he's doing with quarterbacks and the impact that he could do with a young man of his caliber, Connell Maynor or whomever offered the scholarship to Marcus Stokes also has got to be thinking the same thing. What's your take on Alabama A&M offering Stokes? And brings up, we were talking offline, the interesting dilemma that that offer brings with it, given everything surrounding the Alabama A&M program.
I mean, well, clearly, any offer from any school at this point in time is going to be under the microscope, especially the one right down the road from where I'm sitting at right here in Huntsville, Alabama. I mean, clearly the coaching staff at Alabama A&M, had to do their homework in that sense, and then bring it to Coach Maynor as well, because, they kind of have their recruiting coordinators, and then Coach Maynor kind of signs off on the offers technically in that sense. So I'm pretty sure that, quite frankly, they did some things that probably have like whatever understanding. As far as what I've seen, I haven't really seen much from like the A&M faithful saying, oh, this is a bad idea or whatever. Probably because of this, though. Remember, it's just an offer. It's not like he's signing. And I have to explain this to so many people all the time. An offer is one thing. A commit is one thing. But a true signing on the line, that's the game changer in that scenario. So, if on Wednesday when I head over to Alabama A&M signing day thing and I do see his name up there or whatever, I'm going to ask Coach Maynor about it, primarily because it's going to be a big talker for one, but two, hey, tell us what the process of this situation is, quite frankly, when it comes to what you're looking at with this young man and stuff from there. So, like I said, I haven't really heard any flack or whatever and stuff, but it could become a game changer if the guy signs on a dotted line or whatever with, really with any school, if you really, really think about it, first and foremost. But if he signs on HBCU, of course, the magnifying glass is going to be intensified even more.
Look, Joe Burrow got a second chance. Cam Newton got a second chance. Somebody go get this kid a second chance.
Absolutely. I think so too.
And he also has an offer from West Florida, which is a Division II school. Ironically, they have Florida A&M on their schedule this upcoming year. They've been a strong Division II program. Won the national championship just a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in D2.
Yes, sir.
They've only had a program
like in
since
one of the first few years as a program at that.
Exactly. Now, interesting. I saw one of the comments by one of our folks in the chat room that said that offer should have gone to a deserving young African. We talk about the redemption, not necessarily being a redemption for young white students, but that offer. And I'm paraphrasing because I'm waiting on it to roll back through again. But he said that opportunity.
I'm looking at it.
Should have been.
I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, read it. Read what he says. Read what it says, Drew, so I don't mistake or misword it.
HBCUs are not here to redeem "quote unquote" white folk. That quarterback position should have been offered to a deserving Black/African American student athlete. And this, do you want me to get a handle?
Oh, sure. I mean, because it flashed up.
Okay.
I appreciate. I don't think he's hiding from it. I appreciate his.
No, I just want to make it comes from African American Rattler dad. Now, only thing I'll go say before I turn it over to you, I remember who our quarterback was 3 years ago.
I do too. For three
and
straight
he was
seasons.
Not African American.
Yes. No, and the one we have right now is not African American. So I mean, but what's
and the last winning basketball coach was not African American.
Yeah, we're going down a road here. Don't go there.
If you could put the ball in the hole, if you could hit somebody on a rope, if you could throw 94 miles an hour, I don't care what color you are.
I guess I looked at.
You got on green and orange.
Yeah, if we are supposed to be better than, then we're not supposed to see race as a factor in all of this. We understand why our schools exist. I mean, you know, we understand the history. Those of us who have been in the history, but in terms of what athletic competition is now, I mean, there are certain HBCU sports where you see limited number of guys who look like us on
Baseball,
the field,
softball,
right? But
I mean, let's be real.
we claim
Baseball,
all.
softball.
Yeah, we claim all. We claim
Those
all
are the top two.
because they're representing our school, our university. Mo, what's any thought or take when you hear that mindset? And again, I haven't seen any backlash from Albany State folks. So if there's like a faction of Albany State folks who are upset about this, they must be the old folks who don't be on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and just dial directly to the president. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, hell, that's funny. Wrote a letter. Mo, what's your take to that mindset?
I mean, you know, to the guy who made the comment or whatever, I mean, you know, he has every right to make his comment in that situation. But I'm just going to take a look at it like this. None of us are current coaches, so we don't know what the needs of a program is in the situation for like what Coach Gray has going on and whatnot. So at the same time, he was trying to just find a way to fill a need in that situation. And clearly, you know, he was seeing like, okay, look, there's a guy we know for sure is a solid prospect or whatever. You know, black, orange, red, blue, whatever it is, you know, it's going to be. I mean, the SWAC does have actually a pretty decent history of some pretty good white quarterbacks as well when you kind of, you know, take a look at it. And let me not say white, let me say non-African American quarterbacks, because when I think about it, I've seen some Latino quarterbacks, and I've also seen Jamison Lee, who was a Hawaiian quarterback at Alabama A&M several years ago, and you know he put up some pretty solid numbers in Coach Spade's first couple of years. So, you know, clearly these guys are just trying to just fill a need just in general. So you have to always just, you know, think about that in that situation. I mean, we all know what the histories of our universities are. We truly do know that, but also with evolution and things of that nature, it's going to happen. But coaches are going to recruit whoever they need to recruit to make some things happen. When I was at Southern University, one of my classmates was a baseball player named Frazier Hall. Frazier Hall, very, very down-to-earth guy. He was pretty solid or whatever when it comes to his speaking skills and all kind of things. Went on to become, like, I think, a 2-time SWAC Player of the Year. Frazier Hall was a white guy. And, you know, somebody did ask, like, hey, man, dude, does it make you feel uncomfortable while you're around all these, you know, black and African Americans and whatnot? And he always just said that, you know, he basically said this. He was like, I was raised in a family in which from day one, look, there's going to be racism in this world or whatever, whatnot. You have to decide what side of the fence you're going to be on when it comes to that. And he was like, thankfully, my parents weren't on whatever side of the fence that basically that allowed him to be where he was or whatever today. But it was like, yeah, he's got along with any sort of person here, there, and everywhere. So, you know, and that's just one example. And there's many, many examples, you know, when you kind of just come back to look at it. But going back to my original statement, hey, you know, coach is just looking to fill a need or whatever. It just so happens that there was some baggage that came along with it that can be corrected as well. And like A.D. Drew said, I mean, yeah, Joe Burrow had a situation, Cam Newton had a situation, and at the end of the day, look at what ended up happening. Yeah, they didn't go to HBCU, but they found some pretty good success the next few places they went.
Yeah, Randy Moss got kicked out of Florida State, went to Marshall, had a good
Absolutely.
career, and will be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Yep. I did not realize that until I watched that Rand University 30 for 30, which just blows my mind now to think that Florida State could have had.
I was in Tallahassee.
Literally, Florida State could have had Peter Warrick on one side of the field and Randy Moss on the other side of the field. Good God Almighty!
And Terrell Buckley was playing defense at that time, and I believe Warwick Dunn would have been.
No, it wasn't Warwick Dunn. Warwick Dunn was in the league by now. You had the other guy that came from Catholic High in Baton Rouge, Travis Minor.
Not Warwick Dunn. Yes.
Yeah, Travis Minor at the running back position.
Yeah, there'd have been a couple more national championships. The year they lost to Florida, when Florida beat them in the national championship game, that game would have been flipped. Had
96, yeah, not in the Superdome.
Yes.
Yeah, you could have had a couple more. Yeah, it's Lord, just the what ifs, the what ifs.
Right.
So,
Mo, we definitely appreciate your time jumping in, joining us this evening. As we talk recruiting, National Signing Day is coming up for Alabama A&M. Any other news you can share regarding Alabama A&M? I just happened to be watching a replay of their game against Prairie View. I'm talking basketball. That new arena is lovely. I've got to get up there. That new arena looks great on TV. I think this is the game that they the women beat up on Prairie View women. But anyway, what's going on around Alabama A&M? Anything you can share? Any stories you're covering this upcoming week?
Well, obviously it's National Signing Day, so we'll see who Coach Maynard and company bring in. They didn't really do. I know they were recruiting during the early period or whatever, but they didn't really make many announcements like they did last year. So it'll be interesting to see where did they go to the well to actually get their guys last year. They tried to fill up on the transfer portals. Some of those things just didn't work out or whatever. As we see, it's not going to work out for everybody. So I'm curious to see who they're going to bring on board this upcoming year. And, there's some transition with, several guys or whatever leaving the program. But when I say leaving, I have to do the air quotes because, with the exception of a dude for Ty Ibrahim, who actually is still in undergrad, whatever years, a lot of other guys who have now, quote unquote, left, they had already graduated, and thanks to COVID and redshirt things or whatever, you were looking at a lot of guys who were about to be in their fifth, maybe even sixth year on campus or whatever. And clearly you got to make way for new players in that scenario. I know Gary Crawls is one of those guys I can kind of mention. He's heading over to UNLV now. So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them on Wednesday from the signing day standpoint. The women's basketball team is currently tied for second in the SWAC. They lost in the overtime, like buzzer beater, if I'm not mistaken or whatever. So they play Bethune-Cookman tomorrow. If they win, then next week's game against Southern will be for sole possession of second place. So that's going to be pretty big. And then, the men, they're still middle of the pack, but they're coming along. So it'll be interesting to see how things are going with them. And I know baseball season's getting ready to go full swing. Coach Elliott, he's actually was a classmate of mine at Southern University. He's got a good nucleus of guys, so we'll see what happens or whatever with him. I think he's kind of realized, like, okay, we got to get some W's and all that going on. But one other thing, Brian, that new arena, man, it is definitely nice. It's state-of-the-art, and they are actually in the process of hosting other events. For example, the Alabama Community College Athletic Association, they're going to have their conference tournament here first week of March, if I'm not mistaken, inside that arena. So that's going to be, pretty good. So you'll see like Gaston State, Shelton State, Sneed State, Bishop, all those pretty good basketball programs in the state on the JUCO level. They'll all be here in Huntsville playing for a championship inside that arena. And then there's a few other things that I've kind of heard through the grapevine or whatever, but I don't want to be that person to actually like share it just yet. But there's some pretty good things coming up, not from an upgrades and facility standpoint. That's not just the basketball arena as well. But I'll let the AD talk about that. He was in a pretty good Twitter space a few weeks ago talking about some things that he's got that he's going to propose to the board, and hopefully everything's going to work itself out with that coming forth. But besides that, that's what's going on here in Huntsville. As far as me personally, you can catch me tomorrow on the Miles College basketball broadcast as Miles College takes on Spring Hill. SIAC matchup. The women's game tips off at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. The men will follow right after that. I'll be on the broadcast tomorrow on BCSN, HBCU League Pass Plus. Download the app, go to the YouTube page, all that jazz. Same place we can find y'all. You can find the same place for the basketball stuff as well. It'll also be interesting to see, can Miles bounce back after tough losses on yesterday as well against a Spring Hill team that they just played about 8 days ago. So that'll be the big storyline with that.
Well said, Mo. Great plug, man.
He did the plugs for you, Brian.
Exactly. He's a professional. You know, we're just living in this space, in the same internet that he's on.
Oh, the same internet space that everybody lives on. I'm not gonna let that
go. Hey, Mo, man, we appreciate you. Real quick, since it's championship Saturday, obviously the Eagles won. Any preference here? Bengals and Chiefs. Obviously the Chiefs are up right now, but any preference on who you want to see come out in that game?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think at this point we've seen both the Bengals and Chiefs be in the Super Bowl, so you kind of know what's going to, what to expect, regardless of whatever. I mean, clearly storylines are going to be pretty high on both teams. Well, either one of those teams. I see what the Chiefs are leading 13-3 right now. So clearly, at the end of the day, you kind of look at it. Whatever the storyline is going to be, the main one's going to be the quarterback battle. It's going to be Jalen Hurts against either Joe Burrow or it's going to be Jalen Hurts against Patrick Mahomes. If we get Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes, then you can say, oh, it's the first time, two black quarterbacks going head-to-head in this situation, with that. Or if you get Joe Burrow, then you've got former SEC quarterbacks going back and forth or whatever. So you get that Alabama versus LSU pride stuff going in there, because basically you would have Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, quarterback, wide receiver against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, quarterback, wide receiver from opposing rival teams or whatever. So, for me, for the Eagles side, I'm pretty good with that because that gives me an additional connection or whatever to make some things happen. Plus, the Eagles have Quez Watkins, one of their wide receivers. He's from the Huntsville area by way of Athens High School. So that's another local connection we'll have, is that because Fox has the Super Bowl this year. Super Bowl's on our channel. So guess who's got to do a lot of extra content going into Super Bowl week? This guy. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. It's gonna be some fun stuff coming through. Actually, I just downloaded the Eagles highlights that I'll toss on the timeline and send shortly over, and then we'll get those Chiefs and Bengals ones and we'll make it happen one way or the other. But I think this year's Super Bowl is going to be exciting no matter whoever the Eagles face, quite frankly.
Well said. Mo, we appreciate you, man. Have a good show tonight. Have a great broadcast tomorrow. And we always look forward to hearing you in wherever and whatever space you're on, Mo. Again, Mo Carter, WZDX, Huntsville, Alabama, sports director, Southern alum, all around great broadcaster. Make sure you guys follow Mo on Twitter.
And just a good guy in general.
There you go. Mo, give out the Twitter handle so they can find you.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Twitter at Mo Carter Fox 54, and then also on Facebook you can find me at Mo Carter WZDX News.
All right. Thank you, Mo. Hey, have a good night now. Let's go to a break, Drew. Come back and wrap it up with some basketball talk on the other side. You're watching the BCSN Sports Wrap. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Mobile banking from Truist actually works for you. It gives you simple, smart, personalized insights to keep you one step ahead. Because we think that's the kind of control you deserve over your money. When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank. Truist. Download the mobile app now.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
Time to call a credit repair company to fix my credit. Hold the phone, man. You can do it yourself with Credit Versio. That's way too hard. Call the credit repair company. Most credit repair companies only work on 1 or 2 accounts at a time, making it slow and expensive. You won't figure that out for months. Ignore him. Credit Versio's brilliant software scans all 3 credit bureaus, finds the accounts that are hurting your score, and guides you through the entire process. Anyone can do it. Let's fast forward and see the results. Wow, I fixed my own credit and saved hundreds. You can do this. Visit creditversio.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN SportsWrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports one.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Hey, welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Appreciate Mo Carter for joining us in that last segment. It's halftime of the NFC Championship game. So, Drew and I we made a pledge to try to be finished with this show so that at least we can watch the second half, right, Drew?
Right. That means we need to get in and get out during their 15 minutes.
Exactly, right? Okay, so let's kind of let's backtrack for a second. Let's talk bless you. Let's go through some of the happenings. Actually, our BCSN top 5 for this week. Now, we've only got the women. We're only going to talk about the women's on the show, but we'll release the full men and women's top 5. That'll be available tomorrow. So we'll release that out tomorrow. Let's go through. Let's talk about the women, Drew. Let's talk about the women's top 5. I don't think you don't have. Do we have graphics? We don't have graphics, right?
No, the graphics weren't ready.
All right, so you're just going to go through and all right, let's go through it. It's on you, boss.
All right. We'll start with the NAIA level. And we'll start off with our Edna Hunt teams. Brian, here's something about all of the teams that we are going to mention on this NAIA level. Every team that's either in the hunt or the top 5 has double-digit victories on the season, Brian. So, and every team with double digits will be reflected in this ranking. So we'll start off with our in the hunt. Coming in at 12-9, 6-6, 56 points, 56.3 points. Xavier, the Gold Nuggets of Xavier, Louisiana. Coming in just ahead of them, 12-7, 5-6 in conference, 56.4 points are the Tigers of Steelman College. Coming in at slightly ahead of them, update to their record. They are now 12-10, 7-9. We'll put a pin in that. 57.16 points. And finishing off our in the hunt teams is Wiley, 12-6, 3-4, 59.4. Brian, before I get to the top 5, do we need to talk about that Langston team that is now 12-10, 7-9? Because coming before you looked at it, they were originally 13-6, 8-5. So let's talk about that one, Brian.
Yeah, so apparently Langston had 3 particular games, December 1st, December 2nd, and December 10th, I think is the other date. Or so whatever the third game was after that December 2nd game.
First, third, and 10th.
Okay, so I had it right. First, second, and 10th. And they had to forfeit those games. This is something that just occurred, or at least sort of flashed across our desk, so to speak. We didn't. We haven't seen any. I haven't seen any reports as to why. Nothing listed on the Langston University athletic web pages. We've reached out. We're reaching out to people to try to get some understanding of what happened, why it may have occurred. We'd only be speculating, which we've kind of done on our own.
Offline.
I don't know if you want. I don't know if you care to share your speculations. Okay, we won't do that.
I don't want to put it, but there are some
That's fine.
common things that tend to occur at the timing of these forfeitures. And anyone who's been around athletics may know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to put out a false narrative without being able to get any type of confirmation, because I don't want to be the one who's starting rumors or anything like that. Also noted, Brian, there was a 4th game that they played during that time. I believe that was December 12th, a game which Langston lost. But looking at the pattern, probably if they would have won that game, that probably would have also been forfeited also. And usually, I will say this, usually when you forfeit right there, it has something to do with a player issue participation in a game. That's about the only thing that I will put out. 9 times out of 10, that is what happens. But beyond that, what, why, how, I don't want to comment on anything else. But when you give up games, that means there was some type of illegal participation.
All right, so we'll wait to kind of hear back and find out what happened there at Langston. But that's a team who was trending in the right direction in terms of wins and losses, especially early on in the season. And so now they're sort of sitting middle of the pack in the SAC. 7-9, I believe, is currently their conference record. So,
yeah.
All right, they were now we go to top 5. We're top 5 in the NAIA
Yeah,
now.
we go to top 5. Yeah. Appearing for the first time in BCSN rankings history in our top 5 Arkansas Baptist. Yes, Arkansas Baptist has transitioned from a 2-year school to a 4-year school, playing on the NAIA level, coming in at 11-5, 3-0. They are an independent, but they are 3-0 in the independent quote unquote conference, as they call it. They come in with 68.6 points. Coming in at number 4 with 11-6 record. 5-2 out of the GCAC, 71.5 points is Fisk. Coming in at number 3, 14-4, 5-2 in that same GCAC, 77.3 points for Landon Smith. Coming in at number 2, Brian, out of the Sun Conference down there in Florida, 14-5, 8-1 in conference, 83.6 points, Florida Memorial. And remaining our number 1 team, I believe for the 3rd week in a row, Brian, if I have that correct, are the Bearcats of Rusk College, coming in at 13-3, 7-0 in the GCAC Conference, 92.6 points.
I believe I saw Rust is ranked 23rd in the nation in the NAIA
last
polls. 23rd in the nation, last rankings that came out. So congratulations to Coach Jackson over there in Rust. They continue to make waves. They continue to do big things. Let's go to the NCAA D2.
All right, Brian, looking at the NCAA D2, Brian, there are, count them, 17 women Division II programs that are HBCUs that have attained double-digit victories at this point in time in the season, Brian. 17 of them. Only one of those 17 is under 500, that being Virginia Union at 10-11. And there is one other one who is at 500, that being Bluefield State at 10-10. But we're giving them some love, but they are not in the hunt or in our top 5. Just want to give those some love, though. But there are 17 of them. We can only take 5 in the ranking. We're going to add a couple more just to show them some love. So let's start off with our in the hunt schools, Brian. Coming in 12-8, 8-3 in conference, 70.9 points are the Bulldogs of Bowie State. Coming in just ahead of them, 13-6, 9-5 in conference, 72.2 points are the Golden Bears of Miles College. Coming in just ahead of them are the Vikings of Elizabeth City State, 14-6, 7-4 in the CIAA, 72.3 points. And our final in the hunt team are the Rams of Winston-Salem State, 12-7, 8-3 in the ever-tough CIAA, 74 points. All right, here we go. Top 5. Coming in at number 5, Brian, the Tigers of Savannah State, 14-5, 10-4 in the SIAC, 77.7 points. That's a lot of 7s, Brian. We need to go to the casino with that one. Whatever you got, 7. All right, coming in just ahead of them at number 4, the Broncos of Fayetteville State, 13-6, 9-2, 78 points even. 78 points even. Coming in ahead of them, they're I would say brethren, but I guess they're sisters from the CIAA, the school furthest to the north in the CIAA. The Lions of Lincoln, 15-6, 9-2 in the CIAA, 79.6 points. Coming in at number 2, our forgotten HBCU. That would be the Yellow Jackets of West Virginia State, 16-3, 11-3 in the Mountain East Conference, 85.3 points. And were it not for this team, they would be the number 1. But Whenever you go 0 in conference at this point in season, Brian, and that being 14 of them, 17-3 overall, that would be the Tigerettes of my Tuskegee University. As best of a ranking as you can possibly get, Brian, to this point, 98.1 points.
Who was number 3 again? Savannah State. Fayetteville was 4. Who was 3?
Lincoln, PA.
Lincoln, PA. Okay.
West Virginia State's 2 and Tuskegee is 1.
What is West Virginia State's conference record?
West Virginia State is 11-3.
11-3. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Tuskegee looks really good. That women's team. They look tough. I noticed number 5.
They could beat you any
State.
kind of way. Tuskegee beat you in a shootout, or they could beat you in a grinded out defensive battle game. That's what makes them so dangerous.
Yeah, I mentioned I saw Savannah State. Obviously, we had the Savannah State versus Benedict game, part of our Super Saturday. Got beat by 20 on the road at Benedict. That's again, I think the SIAC is shaping up. It's going to be an interesting tournament. I think the advantage Savannah State's women will have is that the tournament is at Savannah State. Yeah, it'll be a home game. So, obviously you want to be on the other side of the seeding from Tuskegee. At this point, you don't want to be on Tuskegee's side. So, Savannah State has to keep winning. You mentioned Miles. Really, that's the only other team that is sort of in, of course, in the hunt there. So they've got to watch out. In terms of the CIAA, Fayetteville State is first in the Southern Division. Lincoln, PA is first in the Northern Division. Both of them have 9-2 conference records. Lincoln has a slightly better overall record by a couple of games, but so that's a seeding opportunity. But Fayetteville State and Lincoln only have a 1-game lead over Winston-Salem and Bowie State, respectively, in terms of the South and Northern divisions. So there's a lot of winning that still has to happen. It's going to be a 2-team race, it looks like, in the Southern Division, unless somebody gets hot. Right now in the Northern Division of the CIAA, it's about a 3-team race. Elizabeth City State is sitting 2 games behind Lincoln.
Yeah. One other thing, Brian, talk about the teams in the SIAC. Don't sleep on Miles, because Miles does the one thing that will get them a championship. Defense travels. Defense is a premium during the tournament, and Miles probably plays defense as good, if not better, than anybody else in that conference.
True.
Yes.
All right, let's go over to the D1 side.
All right, moving over to the D1 side. We will start off with our In the Hunt teams. In the Hunt coming in at 9-11, 6-3 in conference. That would be Prairie View A&M, 58.8 points. Coming in just ahead of them, Lady Bison of Howard University. They are 8-11, 4-2, 59 points. And our last In the Hunt team would be our good friend Bo Carter's favorite team, the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Well, I won't say his favorite team. The team that he covers, the Alabama A&M Lady Bulldogs, coming in 8-10, 6-2, 64.3 points. All right, coming in at number 5, Bo Carter's favorite team. That would be the Jaguars of Southern University, coming in 9-10, 6-2, 64.5 points. Notice I said Alabama A&M, 64.3 points. And Bo Carter talked about how close these two teams were in the standings on the women's side. Right. So and our rankings reflect that. Coming in at number 4, Hey, none other than Jackson State, 10-8, 7-1 in conference, 78.4 points. Coming in at number 3, North Carolina A&T State, 13-6, 7-1 in the CAA. They are 81.5 points. Got 2 teams left out there, Brian. You haven't seen this. I'm looking at this. You know who these 2 teams? You know who the 2 teams are that are
I
out
do.
there? I want to see if we get it right. Okay, go ahead. Tell me who the 2 teams are. Tell me who you think is 1 and who you think is 2.
Well, they just played a 1 versus 2 matchup this past Monday, and I'm curious to see number 2 beat number 1. So I'm curious to see if number 2 is now number 1 this week. I
Brian?
mean, do I tell you that?
Go ahead.
I mean, the teams we're talking about are Morgan State and Norfolk State.
Norfolk State,
So
correct.
Norfolk State was the 2 last week, beating the 1 Norfolk State. Now the question, Drew, is did the
computer
rankings
recognize them?
Did the computer recognize that win and move Morgan State to number 1?
And Brian, by golly, it did by the slimmest of margins, Brian.
Ooh, the computers. Okay, computer.
12-6, 5-0, 87.7 points for Morgan State. 17-4, 5-1, 87.5 points, Norfolk State.
Wow. That's huge. Yeah, last Monday, Morgan and Norfolk State had a 1 versus 2 matchup. Of course, Norfolk State was the number 1 team in our ranking. Morgan State was the 2. Morgan State won 57-45. The Bears are still unbeaten in conference play, 5-0. Norfolk State is 5-1 in conference play. It makes you wonder, Drew, with the fact that you had a 3. I'm curious that Norfolk State has some games in their 17-4 record that weren't NCAA D1 opponents. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm curious because there's only really Morgan is 12-6 overall. Both teams are unbeaten at home, so when they play the rematch, when the rematch happens at Norfolk State, that'll be a game worth watching and paying attention to for sure.
All right, sure. I'm quickly going to go down Norfolk's schedule. Penn State, College of Charleston, Appalachian State. Excuse me. Purdue, Fort Wayne, Tennessee, Martin, Marshall, Campbell, Hampton.
VUL. Stephen Gaither said they played VUL, so there's one game right there.
And just for the record, we don't count that as far as computing in the BCSN rankings, right, although it is counted on their overall record. But as far as their
which is why I was saying why the gap would be so close is probably because of that. That's what I'm. That's why I asked that question. So yeah. So definitely
those are the games that we counted.
Yeah. Hey, and also I want to give some flowers to North Carolina A&T's women, sitting in sole possession of first place in the Colonial after a win today, Sunday. They won. Now again, let's preface: these rankings are based on games completed through Saturday.
Before today's games were final.
Right. So North Carolina A&T's win today did not factor into, but they beat the College of Charleston today 76-71, closing the game out on a 10-0 run. Reading here from off of their website, Jordan Dorsey had a career high 21 points. Demaya Tucker 18 points. Jasmine Harris recorded a double-double with 14 points, 10 rebounds. 3 wins in a row for the Aggies. Aggie Pride. 14-6 overall, 18-8-1 in conference play. Go ahead, Aggies. I'm a believer. Look, this is a program that has shown itself, especially over the last few years. We saw what they did in the MEAC, and so it's good to see that they're having success in the CAA, a conference that, obviously, if they come out of that is a multi-bid league, the opportunities for more than one team to come out of it are there. So if A&T can continue to win, stay at the top of the table, so to speak, good for them. Good for them.
Hey, Brian, just some
Yeah.
numbers to throw out here before we get off of here. On the Division I level, the current longest winning streak amongst our HBCUs is Morgan State, with winners of 5 in a row. Next longest winning streak would be Jackson State with 4 in a row. And then A&T, who you just mentioned, now has won their 3rd in a row, along with Arkansas Pine Bluff, the winners of three in a row. So those are the longest winning streaks, current winning streaks on the Division I level for women. Taking a look at the Division II level, with West Virginia State losing this week, Tuskegee now owns the longest winning streak among Division II women, winners of 8 in a row. Next longest streak would be Kentucky State, winners of 4 in a row, and Clark Atlanta, winners of 4 in a row, along with Bowie State, who have all won 4 in a row. So those are your next longest winning streaks on the Division II level. And of course, I'm not going to talk about losing streaks. And on the NAIA level, Russ has the longest current winning streak at 8 consecutive, followed by Brian, Arkansas Baptist, winners of 5 in a row. Also, the winners of 5 in a row would be Florida Memorial, winners of 5 in a row. And the next longest one after that would be Philander Smith, winners of 4 in a row. So those are your teams that have gone streaking over the last couple of weeks on the women's side in basketball.
Nice. Let me, before we break out, I got to talk some men's hoops for a second, because I'm finding, okay. Well, hold on. Let me go back for a second. Women SWAC basketball is legitimately worth paying attention to this year. Obviously, Jackson State women have sort of, and maybe with the exception of Alabama State, they've been the cream of the crop, without a doubt. But when I look at the standings, Jackson State right now sitting at 7-1 in conference, leading top. But behind them, you've got 3 schools with 6 wins: Southern, Alabama A&M, who just lost to FAMU on the road. That's a good win for the Rattlers. Oriyami Time, she showed out. And then Prairie View sitting at 6-3. And then you've got Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman and Arkansas Pine Bluff with 5 wins, 2 wins. So basically that's 2 wins in the column behind Jackson State. So again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the top 7, Drew, all within 2 games of Jackson State. So nothing easy for Jackson State as we approach the halfway point, which I think after Monday night's games, we will officially be at the halfway point in the SWAC.
We'll be at the flip spot.
We'll be at the flip spot where you potentially will have a top 7 that we'll be watching possibly shuffle up and down on a consistent nightly basis. And Grambling at 4-4 in conference play is sitting in that 8 spot. So there are a couple schools that are chasing Grambling for that 8 spot, but it'll be interesting. Okay, going to the men's basketball. I'm going to talk about the MEAC for a second, because On Monday, we hyped it up. Obviously, Monday, Morgan State, Norfolk State played on Monday. If you listen to me, I told you take the points with Morgan. I think I told people. Did I tell people to take the points in Morgan last Monday, Drew? Did I not give that winner out? I should have told
I
people
don't
to take the
remember.
money line.
I
I
don't
feel like
remember.
I did, but if I didn't, I apologize. Cha-ching!
You know, there's
Morgan
no money on
State
the money line.
covering 5 points on the money line. Morgan State with a 77-71 win over Norfolk State. And then Morgan State kind of slipped and lost to Dell State by 2 on Saturday. So they had a chance to kind of be sitting in first place, but now they're sitting in second place behind a pair of schools that also got some big wins. How about Howard University? Interesting. Remember that whole Howard Norfolk State little controversy thing? That the technical foul and all that stuff that happened with players jumping on the
Oops, my
floor.
bad.
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah. Since that game, Howard has won 5 in a row, or 4 in a row since they won that game. They're 5-1 now, sitting tied for first place in the MEAC, and they're also sitting there in first place with Maryland Eastern Shore, who they are 5-1. They got a big win over North Carolina Central. So talk about a tough week for North Carolina Central. On the you lose to Maryland Eastern Shore by 1 point, 59-58. That was a big money line. I'm going to tell you, Drew, that was a 7-point game. That's a big money line for Maryland Eastern Shore on Monday night. That's all I'm going to tell you. But I stayed away because I just didn't know if Maryland Shore was ready for that contest yet. Okay, they're ready. They won. And then North Carolina Central played Howard on Saturday. Howard had to rally to win that game. And so North Carolina Central, having lost 2 games in a row, now they go on the road for the second night in a row, traveling to Norfolk State tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on ESPNU. Norfolk State 4-2 in conference play. I'm not going to overhype this and say, oh, this is a must-win game for North Carolina Central. I'm not going to hype it at, but let's just say this is a big – when you've lost 2 tough games like North Carolina Central has, and you got to go on the road to Norfolk State, I'm looking at I don't know what the line is yet, Drew, but I'm going to tell you now, I might be shading some points towards North Carolina Central. That's my HBCU Monday night play of the day. Be looking at North Carolina Central. I say if you see the line anywhere greater than 5 points, put money on North Carolina Central. Just telling you now. Anything over, I'd say 4.5. Anything over 4.5, put it on North Carolina Central. Might even slip some on the money line, Drew, because I'm telling you, North Carolina Central has lost some tough games. They're very capable of winning. Also a game that'll be worth watching and paying attention to, Maryland Eastern Shore at Morgan State. So who knows, man? I feel like every day there's an opportunity for some shuffling of the standings in the MEAC. So that's that. I will say the HBCU Go game of the night in the MEAC will be Alabama State at Florida A&M. So it'll be the one opportunity that the Florida A&M Rattlers get to beat. See, when you're a Florida A&M, Drew, and you're not winning a lot, they don't put you on TV a lot. It's like they do that in the NFL. They do that apparently in college basketball too. So anyway, this is the Rattlers one game on HBCU Go, if I'm not mistaken. So that'll be televised. Let's see if I look at the standings. The men's game is probably at 8 o'clock. Women probably at 5:30. So I was thinking 5:30 and 8 o'clock against Alabama State. Jackson State and Southern will be a big contest for the men on Monday. as Southern is kind of sitting in first place all by themselves at 7-1. Grambling, Alcorn, UAPB all sitting a game to a game and a half behind them, all with 6 wins. So should be an interesting opportunity for those teams. Any other basketball? And again, our top 5 for the men's will come out tomorrow. We will drop those out tomorrow, right, Drew?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
I think we've covered all of the basketball news.
All right, good. We got a good one going on in the AFC. Cincinnati tied it up 13-13. So, Drew, we got ourselves a good ball game here to turn off. When we get done with the show, we'll turn on the TV and we'll watch the rest of the AFC. You're going for Kansas City, as I think you said earlier. I'm going with Cincinnati. Got to go with the Burrow Bengals. Who they? Or is it who that? It's who they, right?
Who they? They
Anyway,
gonna be some L's tonight. That's who they gonna be.
Hey, we appreciate you guys joining in on discussion and commentary. Please feel free to keep it going. There's a lot of interesting thoughts out there. Appreciate all you guys on YouTube and Facebook for joining in, sharing your thoughts. Clearly, there'll be more to talk about in the days to come. Make sure you're following the BCSN Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MyBCSN1. Follow Drew on Twitter at BCSN Drew, DREW. You can find me at DRB365. And go download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on your Google Play and Apple App Store. MyJBN, MyBCSN is where you can find it. And then the podcast will be streaming all of the shows. In case you missed the Carlos Brown show from Saturday, it's on the BCSN Pod Zone. So everywhere that you listen and download the podcast, just go download BCSN Pod Zone, search for it. You can even tell Amazon Music, hey, Alexa, play BCSN Pod Zone, and it will come up. I promise you, you'll be amazed. It's amazing technology. The same internet space that other professionals use, we're on it too. That's
professionals
all I'm
and amateurs.
Professionals and amateurs. We're all in this. We're all in this together. All right. Anyway, one final reminder, Drew. Oh, Drew, you're is this a virtual? This is a retweet here. This is what you call a show retweet. I'm gonna show retweet this.
You brought it up. I just decided to put it out there. Put it back on there to remind everybody.
Shout out to all the HBCU content providers. I know I saw Stephen Gaither jump in. Make sure you check out those guys at HBCU Game Day. Great content as always. Check out HBCU Nightly on the Spaces, Twitter Spaces. BJ Jones and the X's and O's podcast and his Spaces. I know that'll be coming out. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to kind of watch them actually, kind of breaking down the X's and O's. So that'll be fun to watch them do what they do. Dr. Gaville's in the house. Make sure to watch Inside the HBCU Sports Lab Tuesday night, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the Black College Sports Network. And again, the broadcast you can watch right here on the Black College Sports Network and HBCU League Pass Plus of Miles College and Spring Hill. Mo Carter, our guest on tonight's show. Mo Carter will be doing play-by-play for that game, and so we look forward to watching that. And thank you to everybody for all your support. Go find a way. Look in the description. There's several ways that you can donate and subscribe and help us keep this thing moving in the right direction. So all of your help and all of your support is appreciated. That's going to do it for tonight's show. For A.D. Drew, For our guest, Mo Carter, that came on today, I am Bryan Fulford. We will see you next time, next week, next Sunday. Fly, Eagles, fly. On to the Super Bowl they go, and we'll see who they play a little bit later tonight. That's going to be it. Peace out, everybody.
Well, holla.
But earmuffs, you stay on hard.